الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. كم يا هلال محرم تشجينا، ما زال قوسك نبله يرمينا. كل المصائب قد تهون سوى التي تركت فؤاد محمد محزونا. يوم به ازدلفت طغاة أمية، يوم به ازدلفت طغاة أمية، كي تشفين من الحسين ضهونا. نادى ألا هل من معين فلم يجد إلا المحددة الرقاق معينا. فهوى على وجه الصعيد مبضعا، ما نال تغسيلا ولا تكفينا. وسروا بنسوته على عشب المطاح، تطوي سهولا بالفنا لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Another word for Lord Zainab alayhi salam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
And the last one for the figure of tonight, Imam Zain al-Abidin, in your loudest voices.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The lights could be kept like this. No, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So, as we said yesterday, we said that the first 10 nights of Ashura, we focused on specific figures that those nights corresponded to. And the next 3 days after the day of Ashura, we tend to focus on what happened to the family of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein after he was killed. And we tend to focus on some of the events that happened, and from those events, we pick topics and speak about them and delve into them and dissect them. So going on the same pattern of picking figures, yesterday we spoke about al-Masarib, Zainab al-Kubra alayha salamullah. And just to recap very quickly, we spoke about why Sayyidah Zainab alayha salam was the best candidate to be the messenger of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein after his death. And we said one of the characteristics was that she was a female, which enabled her to speak out. The second one was that she was a scholar, where Imam Zain al-Abidin speaks to Zainab and says to her, alayha salamullah, Ya amma anti alima ghayr mu'allama. You are knowledgeable without being taught. And thirdly, we said that she had the strength of an individual that already went through so much trial, so much tribulations, and so much hardship, that standing in front of Yazid and having him try to belittle her, that was not going to break her. And she was successful in showing the likes of Yazid ibn Muawiyah and showing the likes of Ibn Sa'd and Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, showing their true colors to the people and showing them what kind of revolution Abu Abdullah Hussein started and exactly what they were dealing with. And so tonight, after touching on Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam yesterday, we want to talk about Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. For we find that Imam Zain al-Abidin, amongst many of the other Imams that came after him, is one of those Imams that are mentioned in some circumstances and then the rest of his life is forgotten. Where you find Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam is only mentioned in Ashura, only mentioned when we mention Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and the events of Karbala. After that, many people don't know the contributions of this Imam to our religion. When the fact of the matter is, the contributions of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam are so great that they give us the very fundamentals of the religion that we believe in. We find that Imam Zain al-Abidin in his words lays down the fundamentals of our beliefs in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you remember 4 or 5 nights ago, we said the very base of our religion is built upon the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in every single department. And this idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists with no bounds and with no limits. And these different philosophical ideas were brought down and put down and shown to the people by the words of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Similarly, in the works of Imam Zain al-Abidin, he comes and writes a letter to one of his companions in which he outlines all of the rights that are upon an individual from the different sectors and the different things that he will encounter in his life, or she will encounter in her life. The right of Allah on that person, the right of their hand, the right of their tongue, the right of the mu'min on the other mu'min, the right of the mother on her child, vice versa. And also, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam shows his magnificence and his eloquence and his ability to speak and show the truth when he stands up against Yazid ibn Muawiyah in Ash-Sham, in Syria. So tonight, my brothers and sisters, we want to look at these 3 departments, these 3, if you want to call them, works of literature of the Imam alayhi salam, and show what profound effect the Imam alayhi salam actually had on the religion that we believe in. Show how much effect he has and how much value he has in this religion. Because the fact of the matter is, when it comes to our Imams, we tend to give them value without knowing why they have that value. Because a lot of the times it's traditional. Who are the 12 Imams? Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Hussein, and keep going on and on. Like, why are they valuable? What did they give? How did they shape the religion that me you identify with? A lot of people don't know how. So tonight we want to bask in the glory of this Imam alayhi salam. See what he has given and understand the true value, or try to understand a glimpse of the true value of Imam Zain al-Abidin. And we will begin with Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. for the first of the many different works of Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, it is As-Sahifa As-Sajjadiyya, where Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, in a sense or in one way or another, writes a book of dua, or speaks, or recites dua, which is later written down and compiled into a book called As-Sahifa As-Sajjadiyya. In it, he shows the mu'min, the believer, how to speak to his Lord. But if you look and see, the historical environment Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam lived in, and also the contents of the book itself and the du'as themselves, you find that Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam had a different goal. There was something else behind the words of dua that he was preaching. So first, let's look exactly at the environment, the historical environment at the time, and you'll understand what I'm trying to say. After Imam Zayn al-Abidin returns to Medina, he has some freedom to sort of speak and to teach. But after a while, Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam is put under pressure by the different Umayyad rulers that come after Yazid ibn Muawiyah la'natullah alayh. And history says about 4 rulers after Yazid ibn Muawiyah came, and if not the first one, the second, the third, and the fourth one was violent, oppressive. They were oppressive and violent, envious, and they felt threatened by Imam Zayn al-Abidin's presence. And so Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam was pressured. He was not able to speak. He was not able to preach. He was not able to teach the Muslims the true beliefs of Islam. Putting aside the rules and regulations and the jurisprudential aspect of our religion, the practical laws, just the fundamental beliefs of this religion, the Imam alayhi salam was not able to stand up and speak about. Because the rulers, as we said, were threatened by the Imam. This threat came from 2 aspects, 2 things. The first of which is the innate respect the people had for the Imam of their time. Whether they hated him or loved him, this innate respect that the individuals at the time, friend or foe, had for the Imam, which made them listen to the Imam and whatever he said. Put that one aside. But there was something else, and that was the Imam alayhi salam, after he came back, the news spread of Abu Abdullah Hussein's death and the accomplishments of Imam Zayn al-Abidin in Sham. And so the Umayyads saw him as a great, great threat to the rule, because he shook the very empire of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. And a proof of this is what happened with Imam Zayn al-Abidin when he walks into al-Haram al-Makki, in the Kaaba, when Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik was there. Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik was the second, I believe, or the third Khalifa to come after Yazid. And he was very, very violent and very, very destructive and very, very hateful for Ahlul Bayt. What happens is, Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik, before he was the Khalifa, he was known by the people. He was a governor. He at least had status in the eyes of the people. And he had servants, and he had guards. And he went inside the Haram al-Makki in time of Hajj. And he wanted to go to the black stone, al-Hajar al-Aswad. So it said, Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik leaves his guards, who are outside of the crowded area around the Kaaba, and he tries to get through the people, trying to get to the Hajar al-Aswad. The people, seeing that he has no guards, start to push him away. To say, oh, this is our chance to get back at this guy. So they start to push him away. And they don't let him get to Hajar al-Aswad. Anybody that went to Hajj knows exactly how hard it is to get to Hajar al-Aswad. Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik comes out of the crowd. He tells his guards to make him a little throne to sort of look at the people and see his people do Hajj, until a man walks in. The Riwayah says a young man walks in, and he has the haiba, the dignity, the nur, the light of the prophets. He walks in. This young man walks towards the crowd, and the crowd splits. This man walks through the crowd, goes to Al-Hajar al-Aswad. Everyone is standing out of respect for this young man. And Hisham is watching. He goes to the Hajar. He takes the blessings of the stone and comes back. And then the wave of people shut once again. Hisham is astounded. He said, who is this man? Who hears him? A poet by the name of Al-Farasta. He hears the question of Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik, and he says, you don't know who this man is? Hisham says, no. So Al-Farazdak begins with his famous poem, هذا الذي تعرف البطحاء وطأته. This is the one that al-Batha, the earth, or Medina, knows his step. This is the one that is the son of al-Halal and Haram. He is the son of the great prophet. And he begins praising Imam Zayn al-Abidin in a long poem, beautiful poem, praising Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam and telling who Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam is, and showing Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik that if you want to talk about true value, the only value that you have is because you sit on a throne and you have a sword that can be unsheathed at any moment. But if you want to talk about true value, go to Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam and you will see how much you are worth. And so, the people had innate respect for Imam Zayn al-Abidin. And by the way, I said Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik was not the Khalifa at the time. When Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik became the Khalifa after that, what happened? He realized that if Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam was given freedom to preach, his rule would not last more than 3 months. He will be gone. So he put pressure, immense pressure on Imam Zayn al-Abidin, and Imam Zayn al-Abidin, as we said, could not speak. And so Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam had still a role to fulfill, and that is to teach the people. So what did he do? Listen to what he did. Look how genius our Imam is. He said between him and himself, if you think about it, it's as if he's talking to himself right now. He says, these people only got their so-called integrity to rule from this religion if they say the words of kufr, or they do anything to show that they do not adhere to the religion, then their very integrity as rulers are gone. And so their limit, in one sense or another, is the very religion that they disobey on a daily basis. That is their limit. That is the red line they can't transgress. Because if they do transgress it, the very integrity that they are so-called calling for is gone. Imam realizing this, he says, if I come forward and preach this religion through the act of worship itself, they can't stand up against me. They can't stand up against me. Because if they do stand up against me, I'll tell them, in the country or the nation of Islam, a man has no right to worship the God that this very nation is based upon. This person in the Islamic empire is fulfilling his deeds as a worshipper of Allah, and you are stopping him. Under what integrity are you even ruling? If in the nation of Islam, the empire of Islam, a man is not allowed to worship under Islamic rules, then under what nation is a man allowed to worship under Islamic rules and under Islamic methods of practice? And so he said, if I begin reciting dua, and in my dua, I teach the people the fundamentals of our religion, they can't stand up against me. Because as we said, if they do, their whole integrity is questioned in the eyes of the people. But you say, but these are the Umayyad rulers. Did they actually care about what the people say? Absolutely they did. Why? You're going to see, just in a bit when we recite some of Khutbah Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, that Yazid actually had to take into account what the people thought. The only reason Imam Zayn al-Abidin stood up on the pulpit and spoke was because the people pressured Yazid into letting him. In other words, the Umayyads, yes, they had no limits, but when it came to the people and the people standing up against them, they had fear. They had fear. And so Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam took it upon himself to recite dua, to recite supplications. And in those supplications, give the true beliefs of Islam. And speak of the true realities of our religion and what we actually believe in when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it comes to how He treats people, how He treats the slaves, when it comes to even the physical reality that we live in today. Physics, modern physics. Imam Zayn al-Abidin spoke about in Sahih al-Sajjadiyah. And so, if you want to actually see how much of a genius your Imam is, go to the first 3 lines of a Sahih al-Sajjadiyah. First 3 lines. You want to know how much effect this Imam alayhi salam had on this religion and its fundamental beliefs. Just go to the first 3 lines of the Sahih al-Sajjadiyah. We're going to read them. If you want to hear the words of your Imam, sallu ala Muhammad wa ala
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So listen to the first 3 lines. Listen how deep they are. And please pay attention, because these ideas are extremely philosophical. Today, it's going to be very philosophical. I'm sorry. If you had a long day, today's not the day that you come to the mosque. Okay? So listen to the words of the Imam alayhi salam. He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الحمد لله الأول بلا أول كان قبله والآخر بلا آخر يكون بعده. He begins and says, praise be to Allah, the one that was there from the beginning. He was the first, and there was nothing else before him. And the one who will be at the very end, when there is nothing else, and there's nothing else after him. So first, he comes to us and he's telling us, this is what God is. If you want to define God, then define him with these 2 characteristics. What are they? The very first, and not just first in the broad sense, rather, first in the unlimited sense, where there was nothing else before him. And not because there's a possibility that something else could have been before him. No. His very nature dictates that there could have been nothing before him. His very nature, the nature of this deity we call Allah, dictates that there could be nothing before him. Similarly, his very nature dictates that nothing can be after him. So he holds the 2 qualities of everlasting and not bound by any time, because he does not have a beginning. These 2 qualities, my brothers and sisters, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not having a beginning and not having any end or limit, are the very qualities that distinguish the deity from the slave. Or they are the very qualities that distinguish what we call the obligatory existent, which is God, from the possible existent, which is something like me and you, the world, something that needs something else to create it. Those 2 characteristics distinguish God from me. When you delve into it closely, you find that these 2 characteristics give us something else. They give us that this deity that we believe in has one quality which defines him. And it is the quality that he's not in need of anything whatsoever. And the fact that he's not in need of anything makes him over everything. And he has the power and the ability over everything else. Because if he is not in need of anything else, everything is in need of him. Which makes him what? Which makes him Allah. Which makes him God. Which is the true definition of God. What is God? A being that everything is in need of, and he's not in need of anything else. That's the true definition of what God means. He keeps on going. Alladhi. Now he starts to describe